All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The date is November 2nd, 2016. I am your host, Chris, and this is my channel, Barnon 11970. As usual, I want to take the time to thank everybody, whether you're watching this live or you are watching it months or years later. Thank you for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. And this should probably not be a very long video, but as usual, if you'd like to leave comments, you are more than welcome to. Especially when it's live, we encourage people to communicate with one another. Now, if you've seen today, there was another Project Veritas video, and they were basically exposing the fact that very large donators to the Clinton Foundation and other people in the Democratic Party have basically been caught on camera, basically revealing what they really think about their women and African American voters. And if you see videos like, for example, from Project Veritas, from WikiLeaks, and all these other basically real news media, why do we need the regular news media anymore, mainstream? And I see a bunch of people are coming in, so quick little shout out to the people coming in. Autumn Leaf, Peacemaker, Kenneth Lopez, 777, Kurt Mason, Guyva02, Valhalla 56. All of you, welcome, welcome, welcome. So my thing is, if you notice, the mainstream media is finally, even outside of Fox Network, is really starting to maybe jump off the Hillary bandwagon. Not majorly, but I mean, I've heard, them actually speaking more about the potential corruption. They're not going full force in and saying, vote for Donald Trump. But I think, to me, there's an old saying that says there is no honor amongst thieves. And you can see that thieves will work together, but as soon as they realize that they might be cornered, they will sell out everybody in a heartbeat. And the more WikiLeaks and other places, like, for example, and I want to give, a big shout out to people like Project Veritas and the people that give information. Um, all of a sudden, the mainstream media is kind of caught. And since names are being published and people are, getting pointed out, eventually you cannot pretend that you don't see it anymore. And that's why you're seeing some of the mainstream media starting to slowly turn. But make no mistake, and I've been saying this for years, that this system has been corrupt for generations. This is not something brand new. And this is the one thing I want to stress to anybody that's awoken this year because of these situations that are going on with this political situation in the presidency. And I welcome each and every person that is brand new to this, because every person that's awakened is one less person, in their corrupt system. And with this, you will realize, and you need real eyes to see. I have plenty of videos that talk about how words actually have different meanings, because words are nothing more than vibration. And if you don't think vibration can hurt you, put your nails on a chalkboard and watch yourself cringe or get a headache from it. So, words do have meanings, especially in the English language. It's all about resonation, so I recommend you check into these things. But you'll see the mainstream media is starting to jump ship. And they're all starting to pretend like, oh, this is coming out of the blue and we weren't aware of this. And, they're still not pointing out plenty of things. So my thing is, why at this point is anybody even wasting their time with mainstream media? We need to make it die. Because media was supposed to be the unofficial fourth branch of government. They were supposed to keep the government people in check by reporting things honestly. And you could see how corporations have slowly but surely bought newspapers, radio stations, television program, and they started basically paying off people. And that's why, what do you see now? Like if you watch a regular YouTube video, like myself or others in this quote-unquote truther community, because, sometimes truth is based on what resonates with you. It's not always going to be the same for everybody. But the people that are genuinely trying to, speak the truth, they're not fashion models. They're not GQ, people out there. They're just regular people, and I hate even using that word, but they're not somebody that's going to a dentist and spending $50,000 and getting, false teeth to look like you're perfect and getting boob jobs and, getting hair pieces. We're just here reporting news. And you see these mainstream media people are all about the flesh, the substance, not the information. Because you haven't noticed when you flip to different channels, they pretty much are talking about the same thing. And what are they doing these days, especially with this whole political thing? You get a bunch of people sitting at a table discussing their own opinions. So it becomes like a bunch of people and you're watching soap opera or watching Jerry Springer without them having the lesbians or the chair throwing. They're just giving their opinions about things. That's not news. That's gossip columns. And yet, there are still millions of people that still will buy the New York Times or the Washington Post, or they'll turn on their news stations on their radios on their way to work. And they'll watch different channels. Because, make no mistake, even Fox News, I will give them credit that they've been the most voicious, being on Trump's side and talking about the corruption of media. So I'll give them credit for that. But, if you think they are the good guys, then you're being tricked. So my opinion to anybody is, see, how these stations survive is they get advertisement. That's why you see so many commercials. They make their living off of advertisers. So if you're watching whatever mainstream media channel and people purchase the products based on the advertisements they see, that's where the advertisements, they get their revenue. So if people stop watching and they stop buying the products, well, it doesn't justify the amount of money it requires for them to be able to advertise. And years ago, when I first got my first year of my own massage business, when I opened it up, I actually was approached by a radio station. I don't even remember what it was because this is back in the early, it's actually in 2001. So God, 15 years ago. It's pretty sad at this point if you think about it, how fast time flies. But I paid $2,000 for 10, 15-second ads, which did nothing. But I mean, that's $2,000, and that was back in the beginning of the 2000s, when the economy was supposedly doing better. So they get their revenue off of advertisers. You stop watching, you stop buying the products. I mean, for example, you can even do something else. You could watch the mainstream media just for the advertisements, see the advertisers, and send messages to them saying, I will boycott your product if you continue to advertise on the mainstream media networks. Because people say all the time, well, how do we fix the system? The system is based on the scam of money. The more money they could make off of your ignorance or your naivety or your trust, the more powerful they become. And the way to defeat them is not by doing what they do, and that's creating violence, creating civil war, because that will give them more justification to throw you in jail and make more money off of you. So they're counting on people to use their emotions instead of their brains. They want you to react instead of think. So they don't care if you put up a picket sign and protest and sleep out for months in front of some government building. As long as you're paying your taxes and you're using your credit card and you're paying your bills, what do they care? If anything, you're giving them free advertisement. So the way to hit these people without causing violence, because violence begets violence, there has to be a better way. And people mistake it all the time when I talk about how we need to do this non-violently. People think, oh, well, what are you, a wimp? What are you, some person that, nothing's going to get done. Of course you can get things done. If you have a business, and I've used this example before, let's say you have your credit card company that you have, which I totally tell people, get rid of your credit cards. If you need a credit card for a business or something like that, or at least one of them, get something like a federal credit union account, and they will issue you a checking card that will basically use whatever money you have, quote-unquote money you have in your account. So you can't overspend, and you're not borrowing money. So it actually helps to injure the system, believe it or not, because money is created every time you use your credit card, every time you take out a loan. It's created into existence. So if you want to defeat them, and let's get back to that example. You have a credit card company. Let's say it's ABC Credit. And you're paying, let's say, 7% interest. And then all of a sudden, the next bill, they decide, you know what, we're going to charge you 75% interest on your purchases from now on. And we're going to charge you $1,000 a year, fee. Now, you could sit there with a protest sign saying how unfair that is. You can complain and make videos all you want. You could tell your friends how much you're really upset with what they're doing. But if you continue to purchase from their product, what message are you sending them? Do you think they really care? Because let's say you and 50 of your friends, or let's say 1,000 of your friends, or 1,000 people you talk to over the internet, you all decide you're going to go down to the ABC Credit Card Corporation, their headquarters, and you're going to protest. And you're going to put tents up in their front of their property or outside their property so you're not going to be arrested for, trespassing. And you create a news media frenzy. Well, what have you done? You've given them free advertisement. So you're actually helping them. So they're very good at manipulating people because they want you to be angry. So when it comes to the mainstream media, when it comes to governments, when it comes to anything, they want you to be violent. They want you to be angry. They want you to react in a physical way because then they can outgun you, arrest you, create more laws, and profit off of you while you're in prison. And you could see with the media and the new information that's coming out with that Project Veritas video, and they have basically very large donators at a Democratic convention basically saying that they're using African Americans, knowing that African Americans and women don't really vote. And if they do, they don't really know what they're voting for. They tend to vote just because of the fact, like, for example, Hillary Clinton, most women are going to vote for her just because she's a woman, just like a lot of African Americans voted for Obama just because he was African American. And how did that work out? And people always complain about how bad things are, but if you see, especially, and this is not something that's racist, it's something that even the politicians say, that most African American people tend to vote Democratic. Well, if they're complaining about how bad things are, put two and two together. If you keep voting for the Democrats and you don't see any change, well, why would you keep doing the same thing over and over again? Now, obviously, I'm not going to say Republicans are the answer either. The only way we are going to fix this system is if we no longer have politics in the sense of specific types of people. In other words, Democrats, Republicans. It should just be this human being is running for president, this human being is running for president. Because then otherwise you're stuck in certain ideals. And people will hate each other just because of the fact, oh, you're a Republican? Well, I'm a Democrat. Or you're a Democrat? I'm a Republican. Oh, you're a Republican and a Democrat? I'm an independent, so screw you, I hate you already. It's the whole divide and conquer mentality. And then the mainstream media is used to get you more emotionally involved. They don't speak truth. They speak about things that get your emotions up. That's why they talk about things like abortion. That's why they talk about things like race. That's why they talk about things like religion. That's why they talk about things like sexual preferences. Because they are easily able to get people mad. Because you'll have some people on one side and then others on the other side. And what do? They fight amongst each other. And that's what you're seeing now. There's more division now than there probably has been since the 60s. And before that. And instead of people thinking logically that if you don't like what you're being fed as far as information, then don't watch it anymore. If you don't like the way corporations treat you, then don't participate. If you hate the banking system and what they're doing, if you have a banking account and you have several banking credit cards where you spend more money than you have, you're contributing to the problem. So how could you complain about it? That's like saying how much you hate cigarette smoke and how much you hate how it causes cancer on your way out to go buy another carton of cigarettes. How is that any different? Peacemaker says really quick, and I think this is important, and I've said this several times, what do you think of Alex Jones? Here's what I describe people like Alex Jones about. in a nutshell. If you take, and people that have been watching my channel for a while will hear this expression, I've said it many times. If you have 99 pounds of ice cream and you mix in 1 pound of crap, what do you have? You have 100 pounds of crap. So in other words, even though 99% of the ice cream was the good part, if you mix in a pound of crap, you've ruined the whole thing. Alex Jones is all about fear porn. He's all about selling his products. He's all about saying, oh, well, you're going to die unless you get these things. Or he talks about always nuclear war, FEMA camps, that they're going to come and take you out and shoot you. And that's why in the beginning, when I was first introduced to this stuff, I was very paranoid on my first channel, Barn on 11967. I can understand why some of my trolls or people, thought I must have been crazy at that time, because I was watching people like Alex Jones, and it gets you paranoid. The idea is to keep you in a lower vibration, because you cannot be enlightened if you're grounded. You cannot rise above it all if you're staying your feet flat to the surface. He is there to make lots of money off of the fear of the people, keeping you constantly looking over your shoulders, thinking you're going to die at any moment, that some government agency is going to come in and swoop you away. Well, as you could see, ladies and gentlemen, I've been speaking about this stuff since 2011, and I've talked about some very deep things. Watch my videos and you'll see, and yet I'm still here. And I will say right now to any NSA agent that's listening to this right now, whether it's live or in the future, you're a sellout, you're the terrorist, and you're the people that one day we will overcome. I don't live in fear. So to me, Alex Jones is all about selling products. It's all about giving you some information. So this is what Alex is to me. In school, he's a kindergartner. He's the one that sets you up and gets you to know about things. But you cannot progress if you stay on his level. So for me, what I always say is you can get information not only from people there to help you, but also people there to hurt you, because you can learn what not to do as well. So for me, Alex Jones is great in the sense that he has awoken people that don't know about this stuff. But my thing is, once you get that realization that we're not living in the world that we thought we were, stop watching people like him and move onward and upward. If you stay stagnant, you will never grow. And that's why they say a rolling stone gathers no moss. He is a standing still stone. He will continue to say the same things over and over again. If he was true to what he claims to be, he would have been assassinated a long time ago. Because he's got hundreds of thousands of followers. There's a reason why he has a lot of money. He profits off of this. And that's why I barely make anything. And especially nowadays, because YouTube is like basically keeping my information from going out. Because I will get, every time I do a live video, I get a lot more views than if I just post a regular video that I made in advance. It's almost like my people that subscribe to me don't get notifications. And actually, if you go on my front page, where you see the subscribe button, there's a little, it looks like a little spoked wheel right next to the subscribe button. If you click on that, there's a box you could check. You could check on there where you could get notifications. So if you want to get notifications of my videos, go to my main page, look where it says the subscribe button. You'll see a little circle or a checkbox there. Open that up and you'll see a little thing that you could check that says you want to be notified of my videos. So my thing is, people are always asking me all the time, how do we become free? Get out of the system. Stop participating. And here's another one that I think is important. So Kurt, thank you for this. Kurt Mason says, what do you think of Bitcoin? Well, here's my thing about Bitcoin. It's backed by nothing. It's a digital currency. It's based on a computer program. If they decide to shut down the internet, or if they decide to shut off the power, what good are your Bitcoins? To me, I think what Bitcoins was to motivate people through their greed. That's why the only thing people talk about with Bitcoins is how much money they're earning from them. They don't talk about it as protection. They don't talk about it as safety nets. They talk about, oh, look how much money I've made from Bitcoins. So to me, I view, and this is just my opinion because you're asking me, so I'm giving my opinion, doesn't mean you have to agree, that Bitcoin was there to get people off the base of real money based on your greed, sucker you in, and then shut it down. Because if you think Bitcoins are going to be there, if the power is off, or the banks are closed, or they control the internet and censor you, if you think you'll be able to spend your Bitcoins, you're crazy. So if you have sold your Bitcoins and bought gold and silver, or bought a boat, or bought a property or something like that, then you definitely took advantage of it while it's still active. But I wouldn't touch those Bitcoins with a 10-foot pole. I haven't. Because to me, if you notice my videos about gold and silver, I don't make gold and silver videos and say, oh, you're going to be a millionaire and you're going to be rich and look how much money we're making. To me, I've always said it's based on insurance, protection. So I don't worry about the money. Because if let's say I had $100,000 worth of gold and silver, just hypothetical for a roundabout number. I wish, but let's just say I had $100,000 worth of gold and silver. And let's say tomorrow the dollar collapses. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but let's say the dollar collapses. Let's say gold and silver loses half of its value, and I end up with 50,000 of whatever the new currency is. Well, 50,000 or 50% of what I originally had is a lot better than 0% of the currency that went under. Things like Bitcoin, they're there for your greed. Again, using your emotion instead of using your logic. So many people will say, oh, you'll make a lot of money on Bitcoins, and you sure will. But if they shut it down, what do you do with it? You cannot go to your local grocery store and buy Bitcoins. If there is an economic collapse, and I'm saying if there is, and I'm not guaranteeing there is, you think you're buying food with your Bitcoins? Good luck with that. So if you think Bitcoins are good, by all means, follow your greed system. You'll make lots of money now, but my opinion is, while they're still available for you to make purchases, I'd cash them in. But that's just me. I won't touch them because they're digital currency. You know, everybody worries about this whole New World Order and the one world currency. Well, they were talking about making it digital. Well, hello, what are Bitcoins? They're backed by nothing. Another person, and I don't see the person who said it, but they were asking about Karen Hughes. Karen Hughes, I cannot take seriously because she's made over the years a lot of accusations and none of them so far have really come true. If supposedly she says there are people that are in the background, the good guys, waiting to strike, what are they waiting for? I've heard about people like Karen Hughes and other people like that since around 2011, where they were saying, oh, there's people in the CIA and there's other people in like China and the White Dragons and all this other stuff, and they're going to help us. Well, it's been years. What are they waiting for? They're waiting for us to get to the point where half of us are dead before they decide to do something? So it's nice to hear that. And again, I tell people, if you want to fix things, you got to fix things yourself. What they do is they use greed and they use your trusting and your naivety to base your energy and give it to someone else. It's like, oh, guess what, ladies and gentlemen, Superman's coming, or Jesus is coming. Just wait around and do nothing, and when that person or persons come, they'll save you. Well, where are they? Not for nothing, since 1000 BC, people have been saying Jesus is coming back. And last time I checked, there is no such person as Superman. But yet they're always trying to get you to say, oh, just wait it out this time. Why do you think they want you to be so involved in this presidential election? Even with Trump. You really think, in a system that's, as you can see, is being more and more exposed based on money, the pay-for-play, do you think that one man, Donald Trump, is going to be able to change this country with thousands upon thousands of politicians who will sell out their own daughters for the right amount of currency? And this is what they do. They get you to have hope. And they say, don't look within because, God is within you. And if you look outward, you're looking in the wrong direction. You ever wonder why your prayers never get answered? It's because you're asking in the wrong direction. And they always want you to look out for a savior that's coming. They say, oh, they're on their way. They're going to be here. They're going to look out for you. Don't you worry. Just sit tight. Instead of you doing things on your own. So while you're waiting, what's improved? And I keep reminding people want to just so cling on to the fact that Donald Trump's going to be the answer. And is he better than Hillary Clinton? Absolutely. I think Hillary Clinton is scum. She should be thrown in jail and they should lock away the key and feed her nothing but, this genetically modified food for the remainder of her days. Her and Bill Clinton and all the people that sold out our country and sold us all out so they could profit. They all need to be in prison eating the genetically modified foods and fluoride flavored water. That should be their food for the rest of their days. But Trump is not going to be savior. He's not going to save us. Do people forget that Obama, when he first became president, people were crying in the streets at how much they wanted this and how much change was going to happen? Even I fell for it back in those days. How'd that work out? Why do we have such short-term memory? Why do we keep continually thinking that things are going to get better? This is why things like the mainstream media will continue to spout their lies, and they'll spout their opinions, and they'll make people believe, and they'll look towards other saviors, and they wonder why nothing gets done. There's an old saying that says, if you want something done right, do it yourself. And yet, we want, in this election, for some other person to come along and save us all. Because why? We're too lazy to get things done? We don't want to take the sacrifices? I've spent years of being humiliated and attacked and insulted. You could type in Barnon 11970 right now. There are still channels that are dedicated to attacking me. All about me being crazy and paranoid and tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist, even though these things I was talking about, hardly anybody was talking about years ago, and it's all coming true now. Not because I was just a lucky guess, it's because I could look deeper than what most people want to, because truth is stranger than fiction. And I've sacrificed. I don't work for any company, I work for myself. The closest thing you could say for me to working on anybody is Disney owns the channel that pays me for the advertisements. But I'll tell you this much, fuck Disney. I have no loyalty to them just because they bought the company that does the advertisement. That does the advertisements on my channel. Screw them. They're a bunch of pedophiles. I have no loyalty to them, but I work for myself. I have my own massage business. I have my own karaoke DJ business. I don't have a bank account. I have a Federal Credit Union account. I don't have multiple credit cards. I don't have any bank credit cards. I have one credit card from my credit union, and it's based on what I have in my account. If I don't have anything in the account, I don't buy anything. I don't waste my money. I buy collectibles. Either gold and silver, or things like the comic books. I don't buy them as much anymore because I got tired of all the people that were supposedly my friends on when I was doing comic book channels all stabbing me in the back, basically, again, calling me some crazy conspiracy theorist, even though the things I've been talking about for years are true. So my thing is, if you continually wait for other people, you will wait the rest of your life until one day you die from the waiting. If you want to change the world, you have to change it yourself. And that means sacrifice. Sometimes you got to take a step back to make 2 steps forward. And if you're not willing to make that sacrifice, well, you get what you give. If you give nothing, you get nothing. That's plain and simple. And that's why I tell people all the time. I have several videos telling people how to get out of this system. It's the easiest and the most difficult thing at the same time because it requires more than you just sitting around watching a computer screen or playing your video games or pretending that somebody else is going to do the work for you. It requires sacrifice. And no one, or hardly anybody, is willing to do that. How many people listening to this right now are working for some form of capital corporation? Working for a bank? Well, if you are, then you're part of the problem. I'm sure that may anger you hearing that, or you might get offended, but you're contributing to the problem. How many of you listening to this right now, whether you're listening to it live or you're listening to it months or years later, how many of you have several credit cards? Well, then you're contributing to the problem. So do you really want to be free if you're not willing to get rid of those things? Because the excuses I'll hear is, oh, well, it's difficult. Oh, well, I can't do it. It's too challenging. Well, then you're stuck in the system. Then why complain? To me, if I was in an abusive relationship that I didn't like, I would get out of it because there's always other relationships. The same thing with governments. The same thing with media. Why do you think people are listening to channels like mine? It's not because I am the greatest speaker in the world or the best looking one or I don't spend millions of dollars on beautiful scenery so you could be distracted by wonderful glowing lights. I just speak my truth. But there are people who will watch me over CNN any day. Why? Because I'm not here with an agenda. I'm not here reading a cue card. And ask me a question right now. Somebody in the comment section, ask me a question, and I'll do my best to answer it. And you'll see, unlike people like Hillary Clinton, I don't need to plan what I'm going to say, because when you speak from the heart, you don't need to plan. And many politicians do that. So somebody right now, you want to ask me a question? I mean, obviously, I can't guarantee I'll have the best answer or be able to answer your question, but I don't have it scripted. I don't have somebody else telling me what to say. I don't have a prepared statement. If you watch all of my videos, that's why I can do a live stream just off the top of my head and go into 5,000 different subjects. Because I don't need to plan. I just say, okay, I'm going to make a video. I want to talk about this and then go from there. How many politicians do you know in any government throughout any part of the world that can do that? They all sit there and say, well, we're going to talk a certain monotone, and we're going to make sure we do our change, and then we're going to look at this monitor over here and pretend like we care, and then we're going to look this way and tell you how much we're really there for you. It's not going to happen. To me, real is real. So Peacemaker says, what do you think of Nibiru? It's fake. Don't believe in that crap. I used to be afraid of stuff like that back in 2011. Every 6 months they say Nibiru is going to crash into the planet, and every time they guarantee it's going to happen. Again, if you want to waste your time on fear, you will be afraid for the rest of your life. There is no such thing as Nibiru. If you want to believe in something that destroys the Earth, then that's a weird thing to have a belief in. That's my opinion. So Nibiru to me was something that they used, just like Y2K, just like they do every 1,000 years. They're going to say the world's going to come to an end, just like they guaranteed that December 21st, 2012 was going to be the destruction of the Earth. They do it to scare you. And then you'll buy things. So if you want to believe in something that's going to be supposedly destructive, you can create and manifest your own reality based on your belief system. So I highly encourage people to stop that silliness. Michelle said, what topic awoke in you, bar none? That's a good one, and I get that a lot. Basically, there was no topic. My original channel, and you could see on this one, if you go onto my playlists, you'll see little cartoons under a playlist that says what got me started. I originally hated YouTube when it first came out, when I first knew it. I didn't want to be a part of it. I thought it was so stupid that people would do these things. Then after a while, some friends got me into it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to make some cartoon kind of things. Just make some jokes, and no one watched it. Nobody cared. And then I was just browsing on YouTube, and I saw a bunch of people collecting gold and silver coins. And from 2006 through 2011, before I got into making my videos, actually from 2006 to 2010, I was an insomniac like I am now. And there used to be a home shopping club network that I used to watch at midnight, and it used to sell coins. And I started getting into coin collecting because when I was a kid, I used to collect coins. So I wasn't getting coins because I knew that the gold and silver was manipulated. I knew nothing about that. I was just rekindling an old flame, and that was coin collecting. I hadn't done it in 20 years at that point. I thought how cool it would be. And I remember I bought my first gold coin. It was a 1/10 ounce 1996 1/10 ounce gold eagle. It was graded ICG MS70. And I paid, I think, like $95 for that coin. And I remember getting it, and I was like, I was so excited to get my first gold coin. And then I saw it, and it's like the size of a dime. I'm like, I just spent $90 on this little thing? I didn't know any better. Now I wish I could spend $90 on those kind of coins. But what happened was, when I made my YouTube channel, I was making these little comedic kind of things that nobody cared about. I mean, some of them to this day only have like 30 views. And that's just reposting them from my old channel. I decided, you know what, let me do a video just showing some of my collection. And that video's on this channel too. And all of a sudden, I started getting comments from people, you know, nice collection, and I got hooked, and I started showing it. And then all of a sudden, people were saying, you know, silver's manipulated, and gold is manipulated, and the news is manipulated. And then they were talking about the government is manipulated. And then one day, I got a message from somebody, and they asked me for my number. They said they wanted to talk to me. And I'll just say, I always say I'll just use their initial J. And back then, it was a lot more trusting because I didn't know about the trolls and all the paid traders who will sell you out and put your personal information out. I was more trusting back then. I don't take people's numbers or emails anymore. I don't take it personally. I've just had too many people with death threats and stuff that I don't do that anymore. But that person I trusted, and I was very happy. And within one phone call, it was about a 3-hour phone call, he dropped what took me years to figure out about the corruption in the government, trust law and all these things. Now, I knew nothing about this stuff at that point. So then I really started getting curious about it. And then I started watching the people like Alex Jones and the Max Kaisers and all those other people. And then you start getting paranoid, you start getting angry, you start getting frustrated, you don't know where to go. But that's what started it all. And it took me years of understanding before I got to a level that I'm at today. So in the first couple of stages, it's like losing a family member. There's going to be denial, and then there's going to be anger, there's going to be sadness. There's different stages. So depending on what stage you are, remember there are stages, which means if you're only on one level and you stay on that one level, you're not progressing. That's the one thing. The more awakened you are, the more you realize you got further and further down the rabbit hole to go. And eventually you get into things like quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and things resonating, and energy. You get into much deeper. And you realize, and again, you need real eyes to realize, is that you realize that everything is energy, and you can manipulate the energy based on your emotions. The actual physical world is actually created based on the resonance of your feelings. Why do you think the media and the governments and the politicians and the schools are always trying to depress you and anger you? Because they want the collective consciousness to manifest that particular reality. They profit off of your ignorance. So you'll think it's crazy. You'll think it's not going to work. You don't want to believe in it. And like I always say, you don't need to believe in oxygen to breathe it. So the whole idea is there's a method to their madness. That's why they always want you mad and depressed. They want you looking outside of yourself for God or for your monetary profiting. It's because they want you to manifest their reality. With free will, they can't force you to do anything, but they sure as hell can trick you. And they want to make it sound so crazy that you'll never believe in it. Well, to those who have been calling me crazy for years, they're not calling me crazy anymore. And if they are, they're just saying it because they know, they think it would hurt my feelings or something. I'm way past those people. Doesn't make me better. A kindergartner is the same human being as a college graduate. They just know more. That's all the difference is. Doesn't make them better. Kenneth Lopez, his question is flat Earth. Well, this is what I talk about when it comes to the Earth. I don't know if it's flat or round. I've never left the planet. So I'm not going to make any speculation based on somebody's opinion, because you can get videos and information that says the world is flat. You can get videos and information that make you think the world is round. I don't know. So until I leave the planet and can actually see it for myself, all we're doing is guessing and basing things on what resonates with us. So unless you've left the planet and seen it for yourself, you don't really know. And that is how they control people, is in everything, even religion. Unless Jesus or Buddha or any of the gods that you've worshipped, unless you've actually physically talked to them and they sat down next to you and said, "Hey, I want to let you know I am Jiu-Jitsu, the African snake god. I wanted to let you know I'm the real God, so, here I am. This is what you need to do." Unless that's happened, everything that you've been told has been just that. You've been told it. And because there's an old saying that says, if you tell a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. Well, how do you know who's right and who's wrong? What's truth and what's not truth? People are always resonating with things that go outside of them instead of resonating with what's inside. Trust your own instincts. We don't listen to our internal antennas anymore. And that is why things like the mainstream media, even though we make jokes about how much they lie, even though we know how much they're bought and paid for, we still watch them. Question is why? And this is one of the things. People always worry about what happened, or when did it happen, or where did it happen. But people seem to have forgotten to ask the most important question of them all. Why has something happened? And you'll never get that from the mainstream media. They never explain why. Or if they do, they give you their own version of it. That's why the mainstream media right now is doing nothing but being totally shocked at all these things that have been happening for generations. And they were making plenty of money off of their ignorance and their silence. Those are the real traitors. So not only should people like Hillary Clinton and all her followers be locked up, all the people that took money to cause DNC problems and fights and people for pay to play. I mean, if you know anything about this Hillary Clinton scandal, is the fact that, let's say I I was working for the Iranian embassy, just to say for any country random. I'm not specifically targeting them, I'm just using it as an example. And I wanted to get something done through Hillary Clinton, who was the Secretary of State at the time. So she's got a lot of influence, and so does Bill Clinton. Now, if I paid her lots of money to do something to get me a political favor, well, we would both be in a lot of trouble because that's illegal. You're not allowed to do it. So what they did was they created a place called the Clinton Foundation. And if you basically contact them and say, hey, listen, I want to have some political favor. And they say, okay, well, make a donation to my charitable event. And once they made those millions of dollars worth of charitable, quote unquote, donations, quote unquote, all of a sudden, they were involved in political favors. We're okay with this? So what do you think would happen if she becomes president? She'll have access to nuclear codes. Well, what if somebody like Iran or China or Russia or some other terrorist country in the Middle East says, you know what? I got $1 billion that I would like to, quote unquote, donate to your, quote unquote, foundation. I sure would love to get those nuclear codes. And if you think that's crazy, well, Hillary Clinton was one of the people that helped give half of our uranium to the Russians. So you notice how she's always complaining about the Russians? Trying to blame everything, with the WikiLeaks? Because, you want to divert the attention. That's why when you do a magic trick, you have lots of smoke and explosions. Because it distracts people. So she doesn't want you to think about what was actually in the email. She wants to distract you. But yet, she was one of the people that was involved with giving half of the uranium to Russia. Now, you don't brush your teeth with uranium. You don't put it in your cornflakes. Where do you put it? In building nuclear weapons. These are the people that we want to put our trust in. And if you think she's the only one, as you can see, more and more people are getting exposed, even people in the media. And I have a video that I made last week of a list of some of the journalists, and I use that term lightly, like even people as famous as people like Rachel Maddow and others, you could look at the list if you watch the video, that they were getting paid, and they're influenced by the parties. And if you think it's just the Democrats, again, you're crazy. And that's why I say in this system, until we get rid of Democrats and Republicans, and we are just people, we are always going to be pigeonholed, and you are always going to be playing for them. If I was president, one of the first things I would say is no more foreign donations into this country when it comes to anybody in presidential candidacy, whether they become a mayor or vice president or senator or in government. No one in any other country is allowed to give any money, even to a charitable event that has anything associated with you or your family. Because then other countries influence the election. So you notice how the Democrats are constantly saying how this election is being influenced by people like Russia, and yet they're taking billions of dollars from other people. Because if you actually watch the video of Hillary Clinton when Bill was leaving the White House and he was no longer president, she is on record for saying that they were leaving flat broke. The Clintons are worth over $100 million. What jobs have they done? What products do they sell? So they went from flat broke in the 90s to having a net worth of over $100 million. Where'd that money come from? Again, asking the question why. Why isn't the news reporting about that? Because they got percentages of that money. It's called hush money. So if you want to stop these, really, stop participating. If you think your vote is going to help, if you think Donald Trump is going to be the answer, you are never going to get it. And if you are outside the United States and you think this is funny and you think we are getting what we deserve, this is a world that's connected to one another. The stock market in one country can affect the entire world. So be careful what you wish for, you may get it. So those outside of the United States corporation who live in other corporations, if you don't think your politicians are in cahoots with our politicians, then you don't understand what's going on either. But again, they want you to use your emotions, and they want you to laugh, and they want you to hate us, and they want you to just sit back and just say, oh, I'm so glad that's happening to them, instead of realizing, wait a minute, we're all on different ships that are sinking. And if one ship sinks, just think of the Titanic and every boat ever made connected by chains. And everybody in all the other boats are in tiny little boats, but they're connected to the Titanic. And they're all jealous of the size of the Titanic and how wealthy the people are on it and how much better that boat is. And they're jealous of that boat. And they're in tiny little things and they're getting seashells to play with and, dog food to eat. And they're living in cramped quarters and they're complaining and they're jealous. And then all of a sudden, they look ahead and they see the Titanic sinking. And all those little boats start laughing. Say, ha ha, look at those rich billionaire people. They're going under. Ha ha, they're getting what they deserve. Serves them right. We hate them. And then all of a sudden you see that ship go under, then you realize, oh shit, our boats are connected to that boat. And you get dragged under. So you got to watch the other fall first. But what'd that give you? A couple extra hours, days, weeks before you died? So make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, here's the harsh reality that most people don't want to hear. This world is interconnected. We are all chained together. If one sinks, we all go under. If you want to watch laughing as one goes under, well, I hope that's the happy thing. That's the last thing on your mind before you're next. So unless this world starts to unite against all corrupt politicians and all corrupt police forces that are corrupt, not everybody in the police force is corrupt, just like the FBI and the CIA and other government agencies. For every one corrupt person, I'm sure there's another that's not. You have to know the difference. But until we change it by no longer participating in it and no longer consenting to it, all we're going to get is we're going to go from a slave master that treated us horrible to a slave master that's going to treat us a lot nicer. Because please tell me in any speech that Donald Trump has given, please tell me where he says we are going to stop borrowing money from the Federal Reserve, we are going to create our own dollar, and we're going to back it by real physical gold and silver like we did before Richard Nixon took it away from the world in 1971. Please show me one speech where Donald Trump mentions that. And yet, the biggest Ponzi scheme in the world is the banking system scam. And yet, our supposed savior isn't talking about it. The news isn't talking about it. Your schools aren't teaching you about it. Do you get it? If you don't get it, there's nothing I can do. And videos like mine will probably get I'm going to soon hit 30,000 subscribers. This video, if I'm lucky, will reach 1,000 views, if that. So I am not going to reach the masses. So those of you who care, it could be the end of the world. It ain't going to be the end of the world for the smart people who prepare for things. There is not going to be some asteroid that destroys the earth, because even if you believe in the Bible and things like Noah's Ark and the flood, well, we're still here to tell that story, which suggests people survived. There will always be survivors. The survivors increase their chance by preparing for things well in advance. Noah didn't go under because he built a boat, and yet all the people that laughed at him and mocked him and ignored him and called him crazy, well, they weren't there to mock him anymore, were they? So he or she who laughs last laughs best. So I've been telling people for years, get things like gold and silver. There have been plenty of people saying, oh, look, you're not making any money, you're stupid. Well, if all of a sudden 5 years from now, 10 years from now, all of a sudden the monetary system collapses and your dollars are no longer worth what they are, and gold and silver then goes through the moon, so I protected my wealth, guess who will be laughing then? And those people that attacked me and made fun of me and ignored me and thought how stupid it was and didn't participate, what do? They go under. So we're the few. If you are still here listening to this, there's a reason for that. So if you can't help people, keep trying. But make sure you help yourself. If you are dependent on others to take care of you, then you will always be hoping that the people you are putting your trust in are honorable people who have you in their best interest. And not for nothing, if you have the love of your life standing next to you, and a person comes in your house and says to you, I am going to take this knife and I'm going to slice you up so it's going to be the most painful thing, and before you die, I'm going to eat you alive. Or I could just shoot one of your kids to death instantly, pain-free. You know how many people would let their kid die because they don't want to go through that? Or they may have to experience a little bit of being cut up before they realize it's time to sell out somebody else? Why do you think the people that were covering for each other in this democratic situation, they're all starting to reveal each other? They're saving their own skins. The rats are going to leave the ship. You want to be on that ship because you like the few of those rats? They gave you a couple of pieces of their cheese? If you like getting fed scraps, what do you think they do with pigs? They give them all that scrap, so what? They can get them nice and fat. So you think as a pig, oh, this is great. I'm being sheltered. I'm being protected. Look, they give me all the food that I want. I can roll around in it. It's so much fun. Look how fat I am. They're definitely treating me well. Oh, wait, what's that knife? You're now somebody's dinner. So you could call people like me crazy. And that's fine. I will have the last laugh one day, and many people that are watching this will, because they'll have prepared for something that most people didn't even want to pay attention to. It sucks for them, but that's their choice. You do what you want. If you appreciate things like this, you'll share it. You'll like it. You'll make your own videos. You could come here pretending to be my friend, pretending you're here for the right reasons, and you're really some sellout. You could come here and think I'm absolutely crazy, and you watch just to see, oh, what stupid thing is Chris going to say today? Or you could be somebody that says, you know what, I completely resonate with what this person says. I agree, and I'm going to do what I can. Well, guess what? You've now increased your chances if those situations happen. And that's why I say if. I have no crystal ball. I don't want a major collapse. I wish none of this stuff was true. For years, I got ridiculed for it. You know how much easier it would have been? Why do you think I started that comic book channel? And then some of my stalkers here, and I'm not going to give them any credit by even dignifying by mentioning their name, went there and spread it around rumors, and people that I thought were friends actually believed it. And I left there because, as much as I loved comic books, they weren't that important to me. To be attacked every day when I was just trying to talk about comics. But that's how some people are. If you're angry, you could fix it or just stay angry, but you'll always have something to make you angry. If you're depressed all the time, you ever wonder why there's always something to make you depressed? Life is like a light switch. You could turn it on or you could turn it off. You could do whatever you want. If you don't think you can, guess what? What will motivate you to do? If you don't have a job right now, and you sit there saying, oh, I looked and I can't find anything and I'm never going to get a job and I always have bad luck and why does this always happen to me? What energies are you putting out in the universe? You're giving nothing but negativity. It's giving you what it is that you want. So your truth is saying you'll never get a job. Well, because the universe or God or whatever it is loves you so much, they're giving you exactly what you're asking for, even though that's not really what you want. So maybe it's time to change your point of view and your outlook. Maybe give it a chance, because here's the beautiful thing. If you give it a chance and it doesn't work, you can always go back to your old system. Why do we tend to cling on to things just because they're familiar if they're not good for you? It makes no sense to me. And then people like me and others who try and go against the main corruption, we're told that we're crazy and we're conspiracy theorists and we're paranoid. Like I said, years ago, people loved making fun of my channel. It got plenty of views, calling me crazy and conspiracy theorist and paranoid. I don't get that much anymore. That means one of two things. They're bored and moved on, or maybe the things that they thought were crazy are all of a sudden becoming so noticeable that even they see it. So that's up to you guys. So I want to thank you all that took the time to leave their comments, ask the questions. I'm sorry if I didn't get to them all. Otherwise, this would be a 24-hour video, and you guys know how much my subscribers love my long videos, said sarcastically. So I do want to thank everybody that took the opportunity. Please, when this video uploads, leave some comments, post some information, get dialogues going. Please share this. I cannot spread this without you. YouTube is basically shutting my channel down without shutting it down. There is no way that I can average over 1,200 subscribers every 30 days and get less and less views from it. I can't be that bad, because then nobody would watch. So if you could post my videos that you think are relevant on your social networks, it helps get the information and helps awaken somebody else, because you never know. That next one person that I help awaken might be one of the people that helps change this world. You never know. It might be you. So that's why you never give up. It's frustrating. It could be lonely at times. It's definitely, you need a strong, you need to be a strong person to be able to do this stuff because you will be attacked. You will be ridiculed. I've gotten death threats. So it just means, like they say, when you're playing a video game, if you're always being approached by enemies, you're going in the right direction. And I'm going to leave with that. So thank you for watching. All of you have a great night. And don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered. Stop watching mainstream media and get rid of your credit cards. Peace.